Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. It was the largest human-made explosion the world had ever seen, until the atomic bomb. In the quiet Canadian harbour of Halifax, life was proceeding as usual on the morning of December 6, 1917, but within seconds, everything changed. Two ships, one of them loaded with thousands of tons of high explosives, bound for the battlefields of World War I, collided in the narrow harbour channel. Flames erupted. A crowd gathered to watch, unaware of the deadly chain reaction about to unfold. Then, an earth-shattering blast. The sky turned white. A fireball ripped through the city. Buildings disintegrated, windows shattered miles away, and a shockwave leveled everything in its path. Over 2,600 people died instantly, and thousands more were injured or blinded. A mushroom cloud rose high above the ruins, an eerie prelude to horrors the world wouldn't see again until Hiroshima. This was Halifax, December 6, 1917, a city forever changed in a flash. Upbeat yet serious intro music plays. Channel logo animates onto the screen with dynamic visuals of historical imagery blending into modern graphics. Welcome to history. Revealed, where we dive deep into the past to uncover the moments that changed our world. Today, we unravel the shocking story of the Halifax Explosion, how a seemingly routine morning in a bustling port city turned into one of the deadliest non-nuclear disasters in human history. From the catastrophic ship collision to the unimaginable scale of destruction, we'll explore the causes, consequences, and the untold human stories that followed. Stay with us as we journey back to one of the darkest days in Canadian history. In 1917, the world was engulfed in the chaos of World War I. Europe had become a battlefield of trench warfare, chemical weapons, and relentless artillery fire. The Allies desperately needed supplies, ammunition, food, fuel to keep the war effort alive. Across the Atlantic, Halifax, Nova Scotia, had become one of the most critical lifelines in that supply chain. With its deep natural harbor and strategic location, Halifax served as a key departure point for convoys bound for Europe. The harbor was constantly buzzing with military and merchant vessels, coordinating the massive logistical efforts of war. Every day, ships came and went, some carrying food and medical supplies, others loaded with explosives and fuel. On the morning of December 6, two such ships entered Halifax Harbour. One was the SS Mont-Blanc, a French cargo ship packed with a deadly mixture of explosives, TNT, picric acid, benzol, and gun cotton, destined for the front lines in Europe. The other was the SS Imo, a Norwegian relief vessel en route to Belgium, to deliver humanitarian aid. Neither vessel knew that their paths would soon cross in the most catastrophic way imaginable. As dawn broke over Halifax on December 6, 1917, the harbor came to life with ships navigating in and out of the Narrows, a narrow strait connecting Bedford Basin to the main harbor. The SS Mont-Blanc was inbound, carrying its volatile cargo under strict wartime secrecy. Its holds were packed with over 2,900 tons of explosives, including TNT, picric acid, gun cotton, and barrels of highly flammable benzol lashed to the deck. For security reasons, the Mont-Blanc flew no warning flags, and most in the harbor had no idea of the danger it carried. Meanwhile, the SS Imo, larger and faster, was running behind schedule. The vessel had received clearance to leave the harbor, but was traveling too far to the wrong side of the channel, directly into Mont-Blanc's inbound path. A series of miscommunications, right-of-way misunderstandings, and last-minute maneuvers followed. Both crews attempted evasive action, but the Narrows were too tight and the ships too close. At 8:45 a.m., Imo struck Mont-Blanc near its bow, scraping along the side and spilling the benzol stored on deck. Sparks flew as the steel hulls ground against each other. Almost immediately, fire broke out on Mont-Blanc. The crew, fully aware of the deadly cargo, abandoned ship, shouting warnings as they rowed for shore. But to the people watching from docks and windows, it looked like a minor accident, nothing to be afraid of. No one realized the clock was ticking toward disaster. At exactly 9:35 a.m., after burning for nearly 20 minutes, the SS Mont-Blanc exploded. The blast was instant and overwhelming, a blinding white flash followed by a deafening roar that echoed for miles. The ship disintegrated in a fraction of a second, sending a shockwave across Halifax that flattened buildings, snapped trees like twigs, and hurled rail cars through the air. A massive fireball shot skyward, and a mushroom cloud rose over 3,600 meters into the sky. The explosion released the energy of nearly 3 kilotons of TNT, making it the largest human-made blast before the atomic bomb. A piece of Mont-Blanc's anchor shaft, half a ton of steel, was hurled over 3 miles inland. The shockwave ripped through the city, leveling nearly every structure within a 1.5-mile radius. Entire districts like Richmond were obliterated in an instant. Windows shattered more than 50 miles away. The force of the explosion triggered a tsunami that surged into the harbor, sweeping away docks and drowning those who had rushed to the waterfront to watch the burning ship. In a matter of moments, over 2,000 people were dead. Another 9,000 were injured, many blinded by flying glass or burned by the inferno. Hospitals were overwhelmed. Schools, homes, and businesses lay in ruins. Survivor accounts describe a world turned upside down, people buried alive in rubble, dazed parents searching for lost children, and streets so choked with debris and bodies that no one knew where to begin. The sound design here should capture the sheer force, an eerie silence as the fire builds, followed by the earth-rattling boom, screams, crashing debris, and a haunting moment of quiet as the dust settles over a city forever changed. In the minutes and hours after the explosion, Halifax was plunged into utter chaos. Streets were unrecognizable, cloaked in smoke, rubble, and ash. Survivors stumbled through the devastation, some bloodied, others blind, many in shock, searching for loved ones or trying to comprehend the horror around them. Fires raged across the city as rescue workers and soldiers scrambled to respond, though many of them had been killed or injured in the blasts themselves. Local citizens rushed to help however they could. Makeshift hospitals were set up in schools and churches. Children dug through collapsed buildings with bare hands, while nurses treated the wounded in candlelit halls. Trains filled with injured poured into surviving stations, and the city's limited medical supplies quickly ran out. Help came swiftly from outside. Word of the disaster traveled fast, and within hours, the city of Boston organized an emergency relief train. Braving difficult conditions, the first American medical team arrived less than 24 hours later with doctors, nurses, food, and supplies. Their compassion and speed forged a bond between Halifax and Boston that still endures to this day, but as if fate hadn't dealt enough cruelty, a massive blizzard struck the next day. Temperatures plummeted, and snow blanketed the ruins. The storm buried survivors trapped beneath rubble, delayed rescue efforts, and made an already impossible situation even worse. Yet amidst the suffering, stories of heroism and resilience began to emerge, proof that even in the darkest moments, humanity can shine through. In the years following the Halifax explosion, the city faced the monumental task of rebuilding not just its infrastructure, but its spirit. Entire neighborhoods, especially the Richmond district, had to be reconstructed from the ground up. New urban planning took hold, with wider streets, modern building codes, and sturdier architecture, designed to better withstand future disasters. One symbol of this rebirth was the Hydrostone neighborhood, a planned community built from fire-resistant stone, offering a fresh start for hundreds of displaced families. But while the buildings could be replaced, the emotional scars ran far, deeper. Generations grew up hearing stories of the blast, of the lives lost, the families torn apart, and the eerie silence that followed that thunderous morning. The trauma became part of Halifax's identity, etched into its collective memory through memorials, oral histories, and annual ceremonies. At a broader level, the Halifax explosion forced governments and military leaders to confront the need for better emergency planning. The disaster led to reforms in shipping safety, urban evacuation, protocols, and medical response systems. It was one of the first moments in modern history when the world truly began to understand the devastating potential of industrial accidents and how vital preparedness can be in saving lives. The Halifax explosion stands as one of the most defining and tragic moments in Canadian history. It wasn't just the scale of destruction. It was the way an ordinary morning, shaped by global war and human error, turned into a national catastrophe. For Canada, the explosion was a harsh wake-up. Call about the dangers of industrialized warfare reaching home soil. It highlighted vulnerabilities in port operations, communication protocols, and civilian safety. Lessons that would go on to reshape wartime shipping practices across the world. The disaster led to stricter regulations for transporting hazardous materials, particularly in densely populated ports. Authorities began to prioritize clearer communication, better harbor traffic control, and enhanced emergency preparedness, measures that would influence military and civilian logistics for decades. But beyond policy, the legacy of the Halifax explosion is deeply human. Every year, the city pauses on December 6th to remember those who died and those who lived through the chaos. And in a unique act of gratitude, Halifax continues to send a Christmas tree to Boston each year, a tribute to the city that rushed to its aid in the darkest hour. That gesture, simple but profound, symbolizes the lasting bond forged in tragedy. The Halifax explosion is more than just a story of devastation. It's a reminder of how fragile life can be, how quickly the ordinary can turn to horror, and how communities, even in ruin, can find the strength to rebuild. It is a tragedy that must never be forgotten, not only to honor the past, but to protect the future. The Halifax explosion reminds us of the profound human cost behind war, not just on distant battlefields, but in the places we call home. It shows how an ordinary day filled with routine and hope can suddenly become history-defining in the blink of an eye. Thousands of lives were forever changed in those moments of fire and destruction, families shattered, futures lost, and communities scarred. Yet amidst the tragedy, the resilience of the people of Halifax shines through. As one survivor, Edith McClure, recalled decades later, "We were thrown into chaos, but we held on to each other, and we rebuilt our lives from the ashes." That spirit of courage and compassion continues to inspire. Today, as we remember the Halifax explosion, we honor not only the victims but the enduring strength of humanity in the face of unimaginable disaster. It is a solemn lesson in the fragility of life, and a call to never forget the past so that we may protect the future. If this story moved you, please take a moment to like this video, subscribe to History Revealed, and share it with others who love uncovering powerful moments from the past. We'd love to hear from you. Had you heard of the Halifax explosion before today? Drop your thoughts and questions in the comments below. And if you're interested in other incredible disasters that shaped history, check out our videos on the Great Molasses Flood and the Chernobyl disaster. Links are right here. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next episode.